Hello everyone, and welcome to another but very special vlog. This one's coming to you a little early this week for two reasons. One, I just saw the Warcraft movie, and we're going to talk about it. And two, because I saw the Warcraft movie, that I'm going to do this early. I'm going to review the film, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Before I start, before I get into anything about the film, this is your fair warning right now. I will put this back up when I start, but here it is. Bam. That's going to happen. Trust me. But before we begin, let's get that off. I'm going to have to move that. But before we begin, let's start with this. This here. I had to look at the camera to position my hand. This right up here is garbage. Ignore it. It appears that and I'm going to go ahead and talk about this right now, that Rotten Tomatoes lately is just trying to find every frustrated movie reviewer out there and give them a voice, and that voice is ruining it for everybody else. And with that said, let's talk about the Warcraft movie. I mean, I'm wearing it. This is my Loot Crate shirt. I wore this I was a fanboy and wore it. And let me start off saying this. If you've seen Jesse Cox's review, spoiler-free review, I agree with that 100%. Okay, maybe 99%. But it was good. And one of the big things that he said during the premiere that got everyone butthurt was this was a fan film. Meaning, this was a film made by fans. Not a cheap budget YouTube movie. So with that out of the way, let's start our review. Yeah, I'm going to put that up there. Let's go ahead and get that. There we go. Yeah, that's good. Right there. Okay, let's start the review. If you're seeing that, be warned. From here on out, I am going to spoil plot points. Lore points. Let's be honest here. That's going to be one of my discussions, is the differences, and they're minor. They're very minor, but I'm going to talk about them. How was the movie? It was good. I enjoyed myself immensely. They put a lot of little things in there for fans. I was disappointed there wasn't enough sex in the Goldshire Inn. You our peers know what I'm talking about, you dirty SOBs. But it was still cool. There was a Murloc. It was a bunch of little things. Like, you had to be paying attention and looking for them. And I only caught maybe 4 or 5. But they were great. And of those were big character cameos from the current expansion. And I don't mean Legion. I mean Garrosh Hellscream and Blade Fist. I'm looking him up right now to pronunciate his full name. 2 of my favorite characters from this new expansion, and they were there, and they look just like they do in the current expansion, though Garrosh wasn't going to change regardless. He looks just like he did he's an updated version of his Warcraft 3, but he's brown. But both of them made appearances. So yeah, both of them made appearances. Garrosh, Kargath, Blade Fist. That's who we saw. That's his name. Sorry about that. Both of them were in there in the Horde. What they did with other characters was great. Let's talk Horde first, because we're literally introduced to them. Duratan starts the movie off with narration. Duratan, Khadgar, Oghren Doomhammer, Blackhand, and Gul'dan are the 5 prominent characters of the Horde. They are all amazingly depicted and great. There are some changes. For example, Blackhand, Duratan, and Oghren do not take the Fel energy. That's what they call it. The demon's blood. They don't drink it at all. It's forced on Blackhand later in the film, but I'll get onto that later. So we keep moving. Let's talk about Duratan. Duratan is one of our focal characters. Duratan in this film, if you've played the games, you've read the books, is perfect. He reminds you of Thrall enough to know that this is Thrall's father, but he's different enough that Duratan's badass in his own right. Throughout this film, his character development is literally, he's torn between betraying his people and protecting them, which are essentially an action that does both. And that's his major motivation. Also, on top of that, Thrall is born in this film. Goel. Let's be honest, he likes to be called Goel now, though his name tag in the game has not changed. It's hot in here. Okay, I'm taking this off. Yep, you guys get to see the old Chrome Dome. Too hot for this. Back to the review. Oghren doesn't do much until the last act of the movie. Then he's important. I imagine movie 2 is going to be his time to shine, because in the Second War he was, he was the war chief. But I'll get into that later. Let's move over to the humans. And these are the characters that did just as well. Anduin Lothor, Medivh, King Lane, Khadgar, and Garona. These were some of the focal characters in there. Every one of these characters is just how I imagine them. Khadgar is dutiful, yet he's still kind of childish. Medivh is, if you've read the book The Last Guardian, that's where a lot of Medivh's kind of story comes from for this. And they change a lot. One of the, and it's minor, it doesn't butt hurt me any, is Khadgar's not his apprentice. He wasn't sent there to spy on him. He's who the Kirin Tor has chosen to replace Medivh as Guardian when the time should come. That's the lore change there. That's one of 3 changes that feel just minor, and they're minor because they make the story flow better in the long run. I can see that working better in the long run. Lane is that just immaculate leader. He's played by Travis Fimmel, and he does such a good job of being that leader you want to follow. You want to, and I was impressed, very much so impressed by that. Wait, I read that long. Travis Finnell is Lothor. King Lane is Dominic Cooper. Dominic Cooper was who I was talking about. Travis Fimmel plays Sir Anduin Lothor. They did some amazing things with this character. I liked him. He was really, 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 really well done. He, being one of the major focal characters, they did a lot. They did some interesting things with him. For one, they made the Queen his sister, making Varian his nephew. So there's that. There's a lot going on there. It was really good. His chemistry with Khadgar was great. The characters were perfect in my mind. Like that they couldn't do wrong. The movie flowed. It flowed good. Like, you could keep up with it, and there were a lot of how do I put this? The first half of the movie is quick. Quick. You're popping in. You're being exposed to characters. They want you to know. More than anything, they want you to be introduced to these characters. However, they don't go too in depth into them. Like, characters aren't developed until the second act and on into the third. But the first act is quick, chopping through scenes as much as they can. And it comes to a close when the Stormwind soldiers encounter the Horde for the first time. And that's when it starts to slow down and be about the war and what's going on. After that, it does a really good job. Like, all the characters were really well done. All the actors did a really, really good job. I mean, I was playing them. I mentioned one of the minor lore changes, which was Khadgar is not Medivh's apprentice. He's Medivh's replacement. Asgardian. That was nice. That was interesting. Another major change was Stormwind hasn't been sacked, like, yet. And I clarify that yet because that may be the start of the next movie. The next movie may be 2 years down the road. The battles have been going back and forth, and Doomhammer sacks Stormwind, forcing everyone involved to flee north. That would be a great way to start the next film. But beyond that, probably not. That was one of the changes, but what led into that was King Lane's death. Yes, he dies. Yes, he's killed by Garona. No, it doesn't happen at the Fall of Stormwind, and no, Garona wasn't made to do it by brainwashing, essentially, by demonic brainwashing. He asked her to do it, and which I think is so good for her character because she beats herself up in game because of that event. She hates herself for it. She even stopped using 2 of her signature weapons because of it and hid them. They don't really lead into that with this one. She does it with a dagger given to her by the Queen. But she does it so she could be planted back into the Horde. And in a position of honor to maybe work towards peace. Let's see, what was the other major lore thing they changed? Oh, another thing with Garona. Medivh may or may not be her father. There's a point where she's looking after Medivh, and Medivh tells his story about how he travels and how he fell in love. And they're really ambiguous with what Garona's other half is, because in the comics they made her half Draenei. In the game comics and lore they made her half Draenei. However, for the longest time it was believed she was half human. But at this point I don't know where they're going to go with it. I would love to see something continued from that, but you can't make any guarantees. The movie follows the base storyline pretty well. Medivh leads the Horde to Azeroth. The Horde start taking the parts of the southern border of Stormwind Kingdoms. Of the Stormwind Kingdom. This leads into a direct conflict with Stormwind. Stormwind doesn't get any immediate help from the other cities. Durotan and the Frostwolves betray the Horde. This leads to them being betrayed by Doomhammer, which leads to the death of both Durotan and Draka. I'm sorry, I blanked on her name there. And Thrall ending up in the hands of a human, which we actually do see. It's the very last scene in the movie. While the film ends on the Alliance forming, which this is the War II alliance of men, elves, and dwarves. Or Game 2 alliance. But yeah, the story flows really good. It's really easy to pick up. It's really easy. It's easier to understand if you're a WoW player. It's even easy. But it's a little bit more complex if you don't already have a predisposition for these characters. But it's good either way. Moving on to away from lore to other things like the Easter eggs. You see other races other than orcs and humans. I've mentioned dwarves. You see high elves and Draenei. You don't really see many of the other Horde races. I was disappointed that there wasn't at least one troll. Like, that broke my heart, but movie 2, we may see that. We may see some forest trolls pop up. And, let's see. No goblins or gnomes. But lore-wise, the gnomes were underground and had yet encountered their major problem. Let me shift here. But let me just go ahead and sum this up. What's my review of the movie? It's good. Go see it. Go see it. It's not this. It's not that at all. It's really good. I recommend you go see it. This movie actually means a lot right now. This is the third of 4 video game movies to come out this year. And the next one can make or break the trend. Because Hollywood likes to trend. And the problem is they don't like to remove away from a trend. Even when they're beating that trend like a dead horse. Hollywood doesn't like to change. Because it's something they knew made money. Regardless of whether or not it is. In comparison with the other 2 films, Ratchet and Clank didn't do so hot. I haven't seen it myself yet. I'm working on that. I'll probably end up waiting for the Blu-ray release. But I've heard good things about the film. And that it was just... I don't know. There wasn't enough info about it coming out. I know I was excited, but... Angry Birds. The movie I thought was like a year and a half too late. Supposedly is done really well, and I enjoyed it. I watched it the other night. It wasn't too bad. Like, it's childish, but it was fun. And then we have Assassin's Creed later. Now, the reason I'm mentioning these is 3 of these 4 movies pull strictly from their games, whereas Assassin's Creed is going to mirror its games. It's not going to be the same story. Like, we're not getting Desmond, we're not getting Altair. We're getting a whole new character and a whole new assassin in a whole new time period. So, what can I say? But, all that said and done, it's an interesting year for video game movies. I'm hoping we see more. But like I said, as a WoW fan, I love the film. Go see it. If you love World of Warcraft, you love the lore, go see this film. If not, if you're just kind of curious and you want something kind of high fantasy, also go see it. Like, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, I feel like you'd enjoy this film. But also, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, I feel like you're aware of WoW already. To anyone who's not a major WoW player, go see it. Go. It's worth it. I enjoy it. I'm going to get rid of this. Bye. No more spoiler deck. Because we're done talking about the movie. It's been great. And I'll see everyone next time. Bye.